All right, so the first thing I want us to do, just for a brief second, is just right where you are, getting comfortable in your seat. Just kind of settle in a little bit. And then if you're comfortable and able and you're not driving a car or something, just allow your eyes to gently close. And then right where you are, this is very much in alignment with Neil's meditation. So without moving your body, without touching it or anything, maybe you draw your attention to your hands, maybe your feet, maybe the tip of your nose. But how do you know that that body is there right now? Take a moment just to detect it. All right, that's good. So when you can open your eyes if you're done experiencing that. So that body, how do we sense it? This is, I first heard that little exercise from Eckhart Tolle as a way to deeply go into the now moment. But what it does for us today is opens us up to the idea that the body, it's really the only thing that each of us has that is like 100% this manifestation of spirits, as an individualized manifestation of spirit. This body is the only thing that is completely me, that I have. I'm the only one that can know. So that feeling that you just had, to sense your body, and you're detecting like your energetic body, which is the extension of the divine. There's nobody else on this planet that has that exact same experience of being in and as your body. So it's a powerful thing. Everything else that we get to experience, touch, feel, you can pass it on to another. You can describe it, shared experiences, but nobody else can have that same experience of just being in your body. So it's something that we often like overlook, especially like in spiritual circles, and and even science of mind. Maybe you've heard the term that I'm not a human being seeking that spiritual experience. I'm a spiritual being having the human experience. It's a pretty common term, or saying. But now part of what ends up with that is that it almost belittles the experience of being the body. We're constantly like seeking to, like we say, transcend the body, to go into this enlightenment, state of enlightenment. Whereas, so it makes it seem like the body is just kind of almost a hindrance. Like in that reading that from Ernest Holmes, saying that it's the vehicle for us to be here. But Ernest Holmes also said it's a vehicle for that infinite to express itself through us. And so we can, if we're not careful, and I should premise this, like, really, this is me. This month right now is like written for me, because this is something that I definitely should be adding to my spiritual practices, because it's something that I've neglected. Not completely. I definitely do some, different body work here and now, here and then. But for me, like, it's something that I feel like I'm guilty of. I know a lot of people aren't. People that practice yoga as a spiritual practice, very in tune with body as being part of that, that triune nature of mind, body, and soul. But so we had to be aware of that risk, that when we feel like body is something that it's almost like an afterthought. So what this month is asking us to do is to recognize, remember the whole theme for the year is living everyday wonder, opening up to like being fully present to, looking at things from a mindful perspective, looking at things as if we'd never seen it before, of just deepening our experience of it to truly be in wonder. And so it's really like, I have to give props to the people that created these global themes, because it flows perfectly after last month when we looked at emotions, how they are physical signals in our body to bring our awareness to that bigger thing, to ways of interpreting physically our experience and what's going on around us. So like this month now, looking closely at our bodies, for me, that I'm really looking forward, and already have been, this whole last week it's been really a powerful experience to be fully present as much as I'm able to, and remember to, throughout the day within this body. So now once we recognize that we have that, that risk, that possibility of seeing the body as something separate, that, I am soul, I am spirit, and then this body is like just a temporary thing. It's as we move into this idea that it is part of spirit too, as Ernest Holmes said, it is 100% spirit, then it can hopefully shift us a little bit, the way that we look at it and think about it. So let's look into this. So a little bit of, when we are upbringing, our culture, Western culture for sure, it's always presenting this image of what the body should look like. Now, like we wouldn't go out in nature and look at an oak tree and say, I wish, that oak tree is there. I just wish it looked more like an aspen. I wish maybe that, tree looked different. Or looking at, flowers in the garden and say, man, I just wish that all these flowers were lilies. I love lilies. I wish they could all just be like that. Like we wouldn't do that because we know that it's the variety, the infinite nature showing up in all the different ways that gives everything its uniqueness. An iris wouldn't be as beautiful if they were all exactly the same. We wouldn't have that same experience. And so this is one of those things with us right now, our bodies. We grow up, thinking that it needs to be some other way. We get this idea in our mind that I wish I was taller. I wish I was, more skinny. I wish I was a little bulkier. All these different things that we tell ourselves, and we are missing that variety that's there. So the song by India Arya there that was talking about what I'm looking for, I already am. What I seek to be, I already am that. And we tend to miss that. So as we deepen into this and just start to become aware of our body being exactly as it is, let's look back like over time. Right now, we are all here. And some of us have experienced maybe some really tough challenges to get here, some health challenges. But at the same time, like it has gotten us here. Right now, we are manifestations of an amazing, amazing physical thing, but has infinite and divine intelligence behind it, intelligent design. We are manifestations of something so beyond like anything that humans could ever, without like something that we could never design in this lifetime while I'm alive. Just looking at the body, how it's so amazingly perfect, the way that it's constantly regenerating itself. We're shedding skin cells all the time as we're making new. Our body's always renewing itself. And so one of the things that happens with our bodies and our ways of appreciating it is we don't recognize all the things that it does, that we only tend to notice when those things stop happening. So doing the research for this talk, I came across something where it said everybody's bodies has already fought off so many different diseases and viruses, bacterial, infections and different things that we are never even aware of. Like everybody here, even, power, like really strong, diseases that, use the C word, that, cancer even, everybody here, we all have these little manifestations in our bodies where the cells start to replicate out of control. And we never even know it because our bodies are just constantly working on our behalf, that these things happen in our bodies. It's one of those things that you don't notice it unless it stops happening. So just right now, bring our attention and awareness to the fact that so many things have already come through our body that we never have a single clue that it is, been there and been a potential thing. But our body's like, no, I got this. This is infinite mind. I got this. And so it's really a powerful step forward into our appreciation for our bodies. Now, our bodies, as we learned last month from emotions, they're giving us signals all the time. All the time, with the obvious ones, when we burn ourselves and it gives us that signal like, stop putting your hand on that. You're injured, you need to give some attention. but it's also always giving us more subtle, signals too, of like, something doesn't feel right in this situation, or I really like being in the presence of this person. It makes me feel good when I'm around them. All these subtle little things. And so if we're looking back at that body as something that we are here to, transcend, like it's kind of just the tool, just a mechanism for us, it loses some of that magic. But when we know that everything is manifest from God's stuff, from the ether. Here, I'm going to read something from Eckhart Tolle in The Science of Mind. It's on page 102. And he says, the stuff out of which our human bodies are made is the same etheric substance from which all things are made. The one mind conceives all things, the one mind. So from unity, the one, which is one, back of all things through the one law, which is the medium of all action, multiplicity is manifested. So we have this experience of our own unique bodies and interacting with other people and their unique bodies, but it is all just that one thing. And it's all manifesting with that infinite mind. The rest of physical matter, like this coffee mug or, the chair I'm sitting in, it's still, we get to its smallest measurable unit. When we get to the subatomic level, it's just waves, collapsing into particles over and over again, which is the same as our physical body. But where the difference comes in is that we are an extension of that one mind, and we get to use that mind. And when it comes to our bodies, again, me personally, I know I'm not using my mind fully enough to recognize what's going on, to direct it. The thoughts that we hold, the energy that we hold, helps shape and shift what we feel and experience in our bodies. Now, this is, again, not to ever place blame on anything that's happened in our lives. Anybody that's going through, health challenges, that's very complicated. We don't know where all of that stuff comes from, but we can use this idea, not to shame and blame for anything that's happened to us in the past, but using it as a way of moving forward to bring everything with intention and consciousness moving forward. Get the water. So as we learn to deepen this, like this month, it's our call and an invitation to deepen our experience with this physical body, that we are uniquely ourselves, to, as we commune with it and remember our full, three-part nature of mind, body, spirit, bringing equal, respect and intention and care for all three parts, then we start to develop our bodies into a way of greater ease, greater flow of that life force energy through it, that we're not blocking it up with our thoughts of, there's my, my body is hurting again, and I wish this body wasn't like this. Instead of looking at things in that way, looking at it in ways of like, my body is always repairing itself. And yes, right now, maybe my knee is hurting, but I know behind the scenes, this infinite intelligence is already there, bringing its attention to it, and it is healing. So the thoughts that we hold can start to shape and shift what we experience moving forward. One other thing, that I've heard, doctors and people talk about, like from medical school, that they say, of all the people that come in, with illnesses into their offices, like they estimate about 80% of those are directly related to stress. And stress, it's not so much the things that happen to us, it's the way that we process it, the things that we tell ourselves in our mind. And, so we certainly see, like hypertension and, heart issues, these different things that we're constantly living in a state of fight or flight, because the way we're perceiving, our requirements, the things that we have to do to live, and we let ourselves go into a state of stress, and then it manifests in our body. And so as we deepen our experience here and become aware of the thoughts that we have, greater power. So we are always getting signals from our bodies to let us know what's going on, but we're sending signals back to the body in the way that we talk to it, the way that we, constantly give it feedback of, wanting things to be different. It's almost, how often it's kind of like, raising children. If all we're doing is pointing out every little thing that they do that's wrong, and we never stop to like appreciate and praise the things that are truly amazing, it creates two different type of human beings. And so it's the same things with our body. If we don't stop and tell it what it's doing that we appreciate, we are creating two different types of body. So one, last thing to kind of like look at here is the idea that trauma and our experiences, all these things, we store little bits of that energy in our body. And the only way to release it from our body is to deeply move into feeling it. When we have, experiences like the challenging emotions that we talked about last month, if we don't allow ourselves to deeply feel it, then they don't get processed, and our body is part of the storage mechanism for it. And that's, these things show up in different ways that can start to kind of break our systems down. And that's when we end up going into the doctor's office and saying, I don't know what's going on with this. So, this month we are definitely looking into different aspects of the body. And this is like barely just the tip of the iceberg. But like I say, these themes are powerful. And I'm really loving the transition from last month into this month. Now, the one last thing to talk about is, as we incorporate this, looking at our collective body, and we are an individualized manifestation of the infinite in the physical, in these bodies here. And at the same time, like that energy, as we share, as I talked about the subatomic nature, to where like really you can't tell where your body ends and the space around you begins. And then when you look at, brain waves, that we are emitting brain waves that can be detected outside of our mind electrically. Well, the heart does the same thing as well. And that's, what they're finding is that that's even a more powerful emitter or transmitter, that those waves go further out. We are interacting with all the matter I'm sitting on and every other thinking bit of matter as other human beings all the time. It's a constant sharing in a field, and it contributes to our collective consciousness. It's that one mind that we are all sharing, but then we have this wonderful, magical experience of feeling like we are separate. We have the experience of being a separate, individualized thing, but we're not. We are that one thing manifest, but it's again just the miracle of the universe and experience, how it is designed in such a perfect way that we come into this existence forgetting that we are that one, but we get to slowly discover it.
When
you
Maggie,
know it or believe it or not, it's constantly happening. So our work of why you're here, we're all, we say spiritual seekers. Again, like India Arya, we already are that what we seek, but we don't necessarily know it. And that's the joy of being on the spiritual seeking journey, is to remember that. So then the power of that is recognizing how connected we are. This is why they say the number one thing that you can do for creating a more enriched, a more kind, a more compassionate collective humanity is to awaken all of yourself. There's the quote, and some people say it's Lao Tzu, other people say it's a misinterpretation, but the quote is, it's powerful. It's, if you want to awaken all of humanity, then awaken all of yourself. If you want to eliminate the suffering in the world, then eliminate all that is dark and negative in yourself. Truly, the greatest gift you have to give is that of your own self-transformation. And the reason why your self-transformation is so powerful Because when we look at humanity, and if we see it like on a kind of a seesaw, and we say tip the scales, well, kind of like the way our body just goes even keel, we don't give it much attention when everything is going right, but we give it a lot of attention when things start to go wrong, or maybe when we're feeling ecstatically well, is when we give it attention. But in the middle, it doesn't have much effect. The thoughts that we hold to it aren't doing a whole lot, as powerful as those extreme thoughts. So for our collective, right now we have one end, which is like extreme fear and paranoia, and we see it manifest in defensive ways, like kind of like hurt animals that show up and react in fear, anger, aggression, and trying to protect me and mine, my people and everybody else I got to protect from. But then on the other end of that seesaw, we have people that are waking up to our deeper nature, and that's what we're here doing. And so when you start to have, like, that's kind of an extreme thought as well, of being so intentional about making myself who I want to be, who I want to see the world become, more loving, more compassionate, kind, caring, equitable, where everybody's needs are met. When we talk in the Science of Mind of, Centers for Spiritual Living, saying, creating a world that works for everyone. When we get out there on the farther ends of that scale, we have so much more power to tip the scale of our collective energy, simply by waking ourselves up and holding on to that, being that in the world, demonstrating it, and letting our energetic fields contribute to the vibrations of those around us. And the body is so important for us as a part of that three-part nature, that it is one of the most powerful tools. The more that we can learn how to feel into it, use it as an interpretation, recognize that it is exactly perfect right now, exactly as it is. It's, even if there's something that you're working on in your body, moving towards something that you want to be your ideal healthy, condition, right where it's at, like 99.9% is so amazingly perfect, that just opening up to that, like a gratitude exercise, shifts the way that we feel and shifts the way that we acknowledge that body. So this month, our call to action for this week is to become aware. Like, this is our homework until next week, is just as often as we can, starting from when you wake up in the morning, closing your eyes for a minute and just feeling the body and recognizing how in your body, the energies, the consciousness and intelligence is already, it's been working as you slept. It's working now to constantly rejuvenate itself and to manifest itself, to allow you to express in your own unique way that can only come through you. So for this week, really paying attention to that, and then asking ourselves, how can we deepen that relationship with our body? What am I telling my body? And the more that we learn to really appreciate it and tell it, feeding it positive thoughts, the opposite of those stress thoughts that get us in trouble, and just start to, like Ernest Holmes said, why we call the Science of Mind a science, is just try this, try it for yourselves and see what works, see what you can take and apply. And I know for myself, I'm like, already, I've been working on this for the past week and then some, already noticing just different little shifts in my body just by awareness. We do have that power of our mind and our bodies, that just by, like right now where we're at, anytime you can just slow down and take a deep breath, and we have the power to, like, that quickly just shift the energy and the flow that we have in our body to bring a calm. So that's the power that we have. So let's start looking at that for this week, and then see how the month unfolds. I know it's going to be a powerful experience for myself, and I really hope and wish it's a new level of appreciation of that triune nature, the mind, body, soul connection for all of us. Thank you.